What's going on, everyone? We are back for another edition of the Bleed Los podcast, Carne Asada. We've got a lot to discuss. The regular season is all wrapped up. The playoff roster is being finalized, and we are getting ready for a wild card versus the Reds. All that and more coming up next. Hello again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Carne Asada. We've got Cody, aka Canelo, in the house. We got Anthony still on location in Seattle with all the great takes from his trip. And producer Roger is behind the scenes. And as you know, I'm Drea. But before we get into all of that, we've got to make sure you know about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the Los Angeles Dodgers. It is your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat, and check out DodgersBeat.com. 162 is in the books, fellas. It gets real now. Are you ready for all the playoff emotions? Anthony, you are in Seattle. I'll start with you.
It's definitely more than ready. It felt like kind of like a dress rehearsal the past 3 days. Glad we got the sweep. I got ultimate bragging rights here at the house. No one's has brought up the game since. But I definitely want that last bit of bragging rights where like I can flaunt a back-to-back championship. That's the ultimate prize that I'm looking forward to. Yeah, it's cool that we beat the Mariners today, but I'm looking forward to October now.
Yeah, Cody, how are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, they surprised me. I think the last time we recorded or we were on live, I said, yeah, probably maybe a 1-2 weekend. They ended up getting a series sweep over the Mariners, made a couple guys look silly, including Cal Raleigh, who we'll talk about later. Interesting stat you brought up. But yeah, I think I'm along with Anthony right now as well. I'm just getting ready for October baseball. I feel like after they clinched the division, the number 2 seed was pretty much out of reach. We were all preparing for this wild card series that's coming up on Tuesday. So that's kind of where my mind's been at. You know, I've had a lot of stuff planning and I've just been waiting to see who they were going to play. And we ended up getting that the very last minute. They will be playing the Cincinnati Reds, which I don't think anybody really had as the opponent. If you asked us at the beginning of the season, a lot of us didn't even think they'd be playing in the wild card round, but you know, that's baseball. And for all the talk that the Dodgers get, you know, saying that they've ruined baseball for the amount of money they spend, you know, the counterpoint to that is the Brewers have the best record in baseball and they have one of the worst payrolls, and the New York Mets have a payroll even better than the Dodgers or more than the Dodgers, and they missed the playoffs entirely. So that's the beauty of this sport, but I am ready to try to defend our title.
Ooh, yes, I can't wait. Yeah, that fun fact I found, Cal Raleigh, who, you know, he gets the hits and he is, you know, arguably probably in line to be the MVP on the AL side, but he was the Dodgers were the only team this season to strike out Raleigh 3 times in back-to-back games, and that bodes well for our team should we see the Mariners down the line. But yeah, we've got so much to talk about. I want to get to Kersh because that is such a big part of today. But before we get into all of those emotions, because I know it was kind of a special day for him, Anthony, you were at the first game. So just take us through that because you got to see something I was hoping we'd see. You got to see Roki. So tell us about that.
So the whole game day experience here is actually really cool. The one thing I'm jealous about, most of these stadiums actually have their stadiums like downtown, and like Dodger Stadium has it up on that hill, and you have to exit into the parking lot and kind of drive your way back down into the city. And this location is right next to Lumen Field, right where the Seahawks play. And you can imagine it's just like open to shops, bars, food, all you can eat basically before you get into the game. The one thing though, I will knock it on, it only has 3 entrances. And one of them is kind of separated for T-Mobile users. Of course, T-Mobile Park. So if you have T-Mobile, kind of fast track your way in there. That's the only thing where I'm like, okay, this kind of sucked. But I was kind of overall excited about it. It's kind of weird seeing like how the Mariners kind of go about their business, because I really don't watch Seattle Mariners. They're not really one of the teams that I focus on. Like, I'll pay attention because I got family here and I'll talk ball with them, but like it's not one of the teams that I'll focus on. And their kind of game-to-game things are actually really cool. I was actually excited I got to see Sasaki pitch. Thankfully, the bullpen is kind of open, so you can see guys kind of warming up. And like the inning before, I kind of saw him like stretching, I think throwing the Pilo ball onto the wall. I'm like, oh, we might actually have a chance here to see Roki throw, and thankfully we did. And like you said, he made Cal Raleigh look completely foolish. It was like something where I was like, whoa, like I kind of just like sitting in my seat. I'm like, we have something here. That's where it kind of clicked in my head. Like, this guy has to be in the postseason bullpen. Like, we have something here, even if it's just for like one inning, a kind of like a hired gun just for like an inning to our top 3 guys of the other team. I'm like, yeah, this is like a guy that I want facing those guys. Maybe in the 7th inning. I don't know about closer. I wouldn't throw him in their closing situation yet, but like definitely like heart of the lineup, 7th inning. You kind of need someone to lock it down. I wouldn't mind Roki Sasaki taking that ball.
So was it safe to say your bullpen trust meter is a little higher? Because it essentially was practically a bullpen game with Sheehan coming out fairly early.
Yeah, it's gone a lot higher. Comfortable. Someone I forget who. I think it was Dylan Hernandez. He says it's basically playing Russian roulette with these guys. And I was sitting there next to my cousin, who's a Mariners fan. Doesn't really know ball like that, but he watches. And I kind of, when I saw Blake trying to come in, I bumped and I'm like, I think you guys might come back and win this game. And then, sure enough, when I saw Tanner Scott come in, I bumped him again. I'm like, oh, dude, I feel uncomfortable just sitting here. Thankfully got out of it, but that's kind of just the way it's going to be this year, essentially, with our top guys. It might get rough, it might get bumpy, but as long as they get 3 outs, like I could care less. And they put up a 0 in their inning, all right, cool. Pass it along to the next guy. Pass the baton, basically, at this point.
Yeah, Cody, your takeaways from this series in general.
Yeah, I think the bullpen was probably the thing we all were keeping our eye on because one, we wanted to see Roki Sasaki go again, and thankfully he looked elite again in that first game or that second game, whenever when he pitched. Only hit he gave up was to Randy Arozarena, who kind of has his number from the World Baseball Classic. I think he took Roki deep that year as well. So, but everybody else, including Cal Raleigh, he got him to strike out. And like I said, we talked about last time, he just looks confident. The stuff is working. The numbers are backing it up. He's looking very, very much like the guy that they signed in the offseason that they hope to see. And Dave Roberts even mentioned after the game, he hasn't had the rookie season that he or the organization had hoped, but he can wipe that away with a great October. And if he's a big part of the Dodgers repeating as World Series champions, and I will say, if the Dodgers are going to repeat, they need Roki Sasaki to pitch like he's pitched in the past 2 appearances, because that just gives you another dependable right-handed arm. So Dave Roberts was sold because he told after the game, he was like, yeah, he's going to be on the postseason roster. We won't see him for the rest of the season. We're going to pocket him away and get ready for October. And then that game 2, the bullpen dogs really stepped up, especially for the last 9 batters, 9 straight strikeouts. You got Alex Vesia, Blake Treinen, all these guys looking really good. That was a fantastic sign for the Dodgers bullpen. Besides that first game that you were at, Anthony, I thought the Dodgers bullpen pitched tremendously this series. They got some nice innings from Landon Knack today, who we haven't seen since like May. So that was nice to see. But even after Andrew Heaney gave up a handful of runs in his appearance, the bullpen locked it down for the rest of the game. And seeing Emmett Sheehan transition to his role where he's going to be, he isn't going to be like a lengthy reliever. The Dodgers will throw him in spots wherever they need him, like high leverage. If they need 3 outs in the middle of the lineup, they'll burn him there and use him. So I think the bullpen's going to look a lot different. I think they're going to get a lot of their swagger and confidence back. And, they're facing a Reds team that's going to be hungry and ready for their moment to shine and possibly try to dethrone the Dodgers. And what better chance to do that in a very, very shaky 3-game series where anything can happen. But I think the bullpen over the last week or so, you go in, take into account in Arizona minus the first game, they've looked a lot better than they've shown on the stat line this season. But we all know that's going to be the issue the Dodgers face each round if they continue to advance. It's going to be the bullpen, and we saw a little glimpse of what they possibly could look like in October.
Yeah, I was happy because I think the bullpen has been, our Achilles heel for a lot of this year. And what I was kind of looking at with Roki and kind of the impressive, outings he's having now and the weapon he could potentially be. I mean, he had really great numbers in the NPB just in when he was there in the 64 games. You're talking a 2.10 ERA. He had in 394 innings pitched, he had 505 strikeouts. And only 92 earned runs, and only gave up 15 home runs in 4 years and had a perfect game. This guy's a weapon. And I think it was just a matter of his confidence clicking in. And if it's clicking in at the right time, I will take it because the bullpen's going to obviously look a little bit different than it's looked in the last couple of months. So that's exciting. I definitely think that why we saw a sweep, because I wasn't expecting a sweep like you, Cody. I was thinking, okay, we're probably going to take just one game. We'll see. But I also think that the guys knew that this is kind of like an audition. who's going to make the roster, who's going to be, you know, the 26 men that are going to make the team. They know decisions are being made right now. And I also think it was also just a confidence boost. They want to do well and have that momentum riding into this week. So I think that played into it. And they just have been playing well for a little while now. So, Anthony, are they just peaking at the right time? Is this the kind of baseball we can expect this week?
Hopefully, yeah, they are peaking at the right time. Like we've all mentioned before and we've seen before, the playoffs are basically a crapshoot. Whoever gets hot at the right moment is going to end up winning the World Series. It usually is not the best team. 2 years ago, we ended up seeing that Arizona and Texas World Series, two teams that were wild cards, low rated. No one really had them pegged as like, oh, this is going to be the matchup going into the World Series. So I feel like we are peaking at the right time. I kind of like where the offense is at right now. Our rotation's still stellar. I trust every guy who goes out there. Like, we'll discuss who we think is going to be. Well, I think it's been announced, but nothing's really, really official yet. But we'll discuss who gets the ball game 1 and game 2. But anyone you give the ball to, I'm more than confident in going out there and going 6+. So the only thing that I had issue with was the bullpen. But after this series, I kind of like, it's helped relax the nerves a little bit. Like, I was going into it kind of tense, like, okay, like, are we going to figure it out? And now I feel like we have figured it out. Like Cody said, it's going to look a lot different than it did 2-3 weeks ago. I think a lot of those guys that we saw 2-3 weeks ago won't be picking up a baseball here on Tuesday night. So I'm excited. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm super excited. So we ended up with, I think we all took predictions a couple weeks ago or a week or two ago. We were saying, how many wins do you think we'll end with? So it ended up being 93 wins, which I don't think is that bad, because I guess this is the second year in a row no team in the MLB had 100 wins. So when you look at it from the big picture, teams aren't really hitting 100 wins, at least not in the last couple of years. I think we really could have been a 100-win team if we hadn't lost all those games due to the bullpen. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it was a bad season when you look at the big picture that way. But just kind of going back to why teams don't repeat, because I actually think we have a really good shot at it. But in the past, when teams haven't repeated, what is it about, like, you know, just why is it so hard to do it 2 years in a row? Because obviously we've faced the challenges. Are we still going to be facing the challenges? But Anthony, you texted us, like, I don't know, I can't remember, a couple of weeks ago. You said this is why they don't repeat. So do you think we're overcoming the challenge of that in the next month?
I think it was just more, it had to do with like overall just fatigue, mental fatigue mostly, than more like on-field performance. Because the season did start in February and you had that celebration back at the end of the year. And I think it's just like, it's kind of hard now that the season's over. It's kind of hard to get up in the middle of like May against a team that you know is going to be below 5. The Rockies, I'll put perfect example, the Rockies. I kind of think it's like, oh, it's just the Rockies at this point. We're not going to face them down the stretch in October. Sure as hell not going to matter when we play them in September. So I think they just kind of like breeze right past it and just ignore it. I know it's frustrating for us as fans because we want to win every game, but like, I'm not going to put it on the players because they just see a inferior team. And that's where we ended up like stumbling this season. We ended up losing a lot of games to quote unquote inferior teams just because like they didn't bring their A game that day and the other team did. And before you knew it, the game was out of control. And like, you're kind of just sitting there like, well, this kind of sucks. Like, the game's over and it's only like the 4th inning. But yeah, I think it just has to do with more mental fatigue at this point, more than on-field performance.
Yeah, Cody, is this our year? Could we actually be the first team to do it in, I don't know how long, since the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, if you asked me like probably like a month ago, I probably would have been like, I don't know, I'm lockstep with Anthony here. I don't think this team's repeating just because I've seen the story before. Either the offense goes cold or the bullpen blows up. And it looked like the bullpen was going to be the prime culprit as to why we didn't repeat. And that still could be the case. I look at the bracket and the way things are going. You know, I put out a tweet, you know, kind of like doom sharing of my thoughts on who they're going to face in the Reds and then the Phillies after that. It's a really hard route to get to the World Series. You got to face the Reds, who have a really good starting rotation. And then if you win that series, you got to go to Philadelphia and Citizens Bank Park in Red October. It's a very hostile place to play. I would probably say it's even worse than Petco. And if there's a team the Phillies hate out of their division more than anybody, like the New York Mets or the Atlanta Braves, it is the Los Angeles Dodgers for a number of reasons. So then after that, if you get through that, I feel like I would really like the Dodgers' chances to just run away with the National League and the American League, whoever's that winner there. After the conclusion of this series against the Mariners, I know the Mariners didn't really have much to play for, but I felt like every American League team the Dodgers played this year, they just didn't really stand out to me. And the Mariners were supposed to be, the cream of the crop, the leading percentage getter on Fangraphs to win the World Series at like almost 20%. And I just didn't see it from this weekend. And if that's the best the American League has to offer, including like the Yankees, the Red Sox, all these other teams that have some issues here and there, it's a very weak side in the American League. The National League, it's like hell. There's a lot of really good teams. It's not top heavy. You even got a team like the Reds that only have 83 wins. They have some young players that are eager to get their shot. I mean, this is the first time the Reds have clinched a postseason berth in a full season since 2013. They made it in 2020 during the bubble year, but they got eliminated in that round, in the wild card round, by the Braves. But yeah, it's going to be hard. I do like the Dodgers' chances just because I do think they are playing really good baseball at the right time. You go back to that series in Baltimore where Clayton Kershaw had to salvage it on Sunday. They are 15-5 since then. The only series they dropped was to the Phillies, and then we even had our fair share of discussions about it where we thought the Phillies probably could have lost all three of those games to the Dodgers had things gone different way of bullpen management. So I think that's the highlight I'm taking away. I think they're playing really good. I think they're playing for each other, and I think they do have a mix of guys that have been there, done that. A lot of the team that won the World Series last year is with them. But then you have guys like Blake Snell, who's very much like publicly saying like how hungry he is. He wants to win a World Series with the Dodgers. That's what he was brought here to do. And by all means, it looks like he will start game one of that wild card series. So I'm extremely hyped to see, playoff Blake Snell show up because he's been elite in October.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see like our boy Kike, who we pretty much keep on the staff for what, just vibes all year. Nobody cares what his batting average is. We don't get mad at him like we get mad at Conforto, even though his batting average is lower, because we all know what he's capable of. And I think we got the glimpses of October Kike this weekend, and it looks like their boys are starting to feel the playoffs starting to arrive, and that was very exciting. What gets me is that why teams are still running on Andy Pajes. Like, how did they not know that? I mean, did they not get scouting reports? I mean, I'll take it, but I mean, that just kind of brings me to one of the other guys I wanted to talk about too that we have not seen in the playoffs. Like a year ago, it was Glasnow. We saw him pitch this weekend too, albeit kind of short too, because they're not putting, they weren't stretching him out like they did Kershaw's full outing today. But could he be a weapon too coming up? Because we didn't see playoff Glasnow last year. So.
He more than certainly can be a weapon. Yeah, I was actually I laughed at your Andy Pajes comment because I think not everyone in Seattle knew that he has a cannon. And when I saw Naylor go for third, I'm like, I think Pajes actually might get him here, and he got him. But yeah, I think Glasnow going forward, I think is going to be a weapon. I don't think he'll be used in this wild card series. I really doubt it. I think the three guys that we have scheduled to go, I think will do the job. But I look more into like the division series that we do move on. He might get the ball either game one or game two of that series. But I do like what I see from him. Thankfully, he's healthy here now. The stretch run, the most important part of our season. He's not going to be wearing a sweater, just hanging out. But I feel like he's going to play a big part in our postseason run. He did for the Rays back in 2020, him and Blake Snell. And I think it's kind of funny that now they're back together and they get that kind of a redemption arc. Every time I see Blake Snell's pitch, especially when he was, I forget what, it was against the Phillies, right? When he went to go talk to Dave Roberts came out to talk to him. You could see in his eyes, he was getting like flashbacks to the World Series when Kevin Cash pulled him and Blake Snell was on one that day. So we'll see where we're at there. But yeah, I have confidence in Tyler Glasnow being a weapon for us going down.
It is exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited that we finally got our biggest wish from like the last, years now. We needed starting pitching, and it finally feels like our starting pitching is in place. And from what I'm seeing from the bullpen, I mean, they had the 9 strikeouts. I think it was last night's game is something they hadn't done since 1920, 9 straight strikeouts to close a game. They had that look in their eyes. You had Enriquez closing it out. You had Vesia, you had Treinen, and those were like a little glimpses of the bullpen dogs of 24. And if we can bring that out, depending on, we don't know who's going to make the roster, but we can kind of talk about it a little bit. I'm really excited to to see, the other team start to fear our bullpen, because they were saying some nasty stuff online this week. Like, we just got to get to the Dodgers bullpen when we play them. And they were acting like they were going to walk all over us. I think this can strike some fear in them. But this is a perfect time for me to just kind of give a little shout out to our sponsor. And then we'll talk some Kershaw right after. But the internet is not a safe place. And this episode is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online. As someone with an active online presence, privacy is super important to me, as I'm sure it is to you. Have you ever known a victim of identity theft or been one yourself? If you haven't, or if you ever worry about being that, Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me today. Now at a special discount for our listeners, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/hit and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/hit, code HIT. All right, so it is now time to talk about the boy of the year, Clayton Kershaw. Today was his last regular season start, and I actually am really happy that it was at the Mariners home, because I really felt like they handled it in a very classy way. You saw all of them on their feet, and I could just tell when you saw the interview with Ellen, it was just a very special day. So just Cody, start with you, because I know that you had said in the last episode, if you ever want to see you cry, bring up Kershaw's last day. So kind of take me through your thoughts on today.
Yeah, I did make it a point today. I told my wife, I was like, yes, we will be watching the Dodgers game today. I know it's meaningless, 162. They already clinched. There's no impact on this game. But it is Clayton Kershaw's final start of his regular season career. And I feel like that's just something that if you're a Dodgers fan, you had the ability to watch, you should watch it. And Kershaw didn't disappoint today. You know, he had everything working. You know, the curveball looked well. The fastball he was pinpointing with command. And he ended up going 5 1/3 innings, getting a strikeout to end the day. Not much else you can ask from Kershaw for a career perspective, and then what the Dodgers needed today. You know, he gave them innings. The Dodgers only used 2 pitchers today, Kershaw and Landon Knack, so it conserved the entire bullpen, and the offense took care of the rest. But, you know, what a career for Clayton Kershaw. It's unfortunate he won't be part of the wild card roster, but I understand it, and I was even kind of pushing that narrative where I don't think he was necessarily needed, and Dave Roberts and the Dodgers knew that, so they said, you know what, we're going to let him get a traditional start, threw over 90 pitches, so he wouldn't be available for Tuesday or Wednesday's games anyway. So have him negate the roster and then join the team in the NLDS, where I think he will be added to the bullpen as either a length option out of the bullpen, or, you know, a lefty specialist, or someone where you just need to get a tight spot. Kershaw's your guy, you know, has done really well in the bullpen in his career, besides, you know, like one outing in the NLDS all those years ago in 2019. But yeah, it was an emotional day to kind of see your favorite baseball player retire. But yeah, I agree with you, Drea. The Mariners, they did it well. They had, you know, the scoreboard up congratulating him on his career, and it seemed like everybody in attendance kind of knew what was going on, so they gave him that standing ovation as well. You don't get that from many ballparks, but you don't get that from many baseball players either. But Clayton Kershaw is more than just a Dodger player. He was a generational talent, and the game's going to miss him. But the one thing I like that I'll end on is what we discussed last week. He decided the right time to retire, and he talked about that after the game today, where he didn't want the game to force him to retire. He wanted to retire at a perfect time where he still felt that he could compete, and he did that this season. He was an anchor in the starting rotation. Pretty much, I think he had the second most starts and the second most innings pitched this season, behind Yamamoto, who was kind of just the ace of the rotation from start to finish. Clayton Kershaw missed like the first month and a half of the season, and then he pretty much did what he's done for his entire career. And it's going to be a while until we see a guy in a Dodgers uniform that plays from year one to the last year of his career. We may never see it again. It's a very rare thing to see, especially with legends. So he did hand the team off to the great Shohei Ohtani. I believe that's kind of the passing of the torch now. But yeah, well, I'm excited to see what Kershaw's role in the postseason is, especially if they move on past the wild card, because I would want nothing more than him to get his 3rd ring.
Same. Anthony, what were you thinking as you were watching Kershaw's last innings today?
I was thinking he still got it. Yeah, well, he goes out on top. Hopefully, he does lift up a World Series trophy here at the very end. But 10-2 regular season, 3.36 ERA. You can legitimately make the argument that he never had one bad regular season, just by the numbers and all that. But I kind of just sat down, like I put my phone to the side, and I kind of just like, let me just watch this game old school. Like my phone doesn't exist. I know there was football on. I could care less about football. I was here to watch Clayton Kershaw throw the ball one more last time. And you kind of, since I'm up here in Seattle, I kind of had to like explain to them like the significance of this guy. I'm like, this is your guys' like Ichiro basically, or your Ken Griffey Jr. But Ken Griffey Jr. didn't finish with Seattle, and neither did Ichiro. So I'm like, yeah, the Dodgers drafted him out of high school. He spent 2 years in the minors, and that was it. After that, he was a Dodger for the rest of his career. And it's really hard to kind of like put the significance of what he means to a lot of Dodger fans up here to people who don't really watch the Dodgers. They just know who the name Clayton. They know who Clayton Kershaw is, but they don't know the backstory. They don't know like, oh, he was like our ace. He was our top dog. He was an MVP 2014. This and that. So I kind of just sat there and I'm like, let me just like enjoy it, like, and pretended like I was like 8 years old again or 10 years old. And I'm like, I'm just going to watch a game of baseball. I could care less about the numbers. Thankfully, we weren't playing for anything. Seattle wasn't playing for anything. So it's just a good old-fashioned just game of baseball. But I'm excited to see what he does out of the bullpen. I think he is going to be one of those lefty specialists, or maybe even like a eighth inning guy in case like there's a blow-up before that. But I do think he'll find success in the bullpen coming down here to stretch. Maybe a piggyback option as well, too. Or we'll see what he has there. But disappointed he's not on the wild card roster, but it kind of does make sense why he's not really needed this series. He'll be needed in future series as we go on. But yeah, more than excited to see what he does going forward here.
Me too. I hope we get to see him pitch. We got to make it through that wild card round because I think we need to see one last curtain call for Kersh. My favorite part of today was listening to Ellen, and I'm not necessarily a fan of in-game interviews, but when it's Ellen Kershaw, bring it on. I could listen to her all day. And it just made me think about just, the human element of baseball, that there are families, there are kids, that don't get to see their dads for such a long part of the year. And she's had 18 years and really just encapsulated in her interviews and in her just the things that she has said recently that, she has had to raise her kids and, watch him, support him. And I just want to just send a shout out to Ellen Kershaw for sharing him with us for 18 years, because obviously she's had to hold it down in Texas and travel. And it's just probably been a lot. So to the entire Kershaw family, thank you, because it has been just a pleasure to just watch this era. It's almost 2 decades of Dodger baseball, and they represented the franchise so well as a family. So that was really great. And I think the ultimate way to just kind of end this part of the conversation is Kershaw makes you feel, and not every single athlete, not every single, franchise has those key players that make you feel the game. And I think that's just what we've all loved about him. So hopefully it's not over yet. We could have another conversation, but obviously in the future, he'll still be getting his statue. We'll still be talking about Cooperstown and all that great stuff. So just kind of moving on to probably less fun, but Cody, you can probably give us the update here. We've got some injuries, and I kind of want to get us the update about where things are going. Brock Stewart, since we last spoke, is out. We really didn't even see him this year, hardly. And that's kind of a disappointment, but I just kind of want to see what's up with Tommy Edman. Kind of, are you going to see Max Muncy? Give us any and all injury updates for this week.
Yeah, obviously the big blow is losing Brock Stewart for the rest of the season and possibly the start of next season as well, getting shoulder surgery. Didn't look too good in his minor league starts, even though he threw scoreless frames. And I was talking to a couple other bloggers and beat writers where his velocity was down almost 2 miles per hour. So there was that was the first sign. And then when he gets to Arizona, Dave Roberts gives the kind of hush answer where oh, well, he's pitchable. Once I heard that, I was like, yeah, he's done. He's not coming back. They're probably just trying to plan out what's going to happen next. Gets a second opinion, ends up going under the knife, ending his year. Sucks. Dodgers didn't really give up much for him. James Outman, who really had no spot left in the organization, especially with a lot of other young minor league outfielders making their way through the pipeline. So it's kind of just like a lose-lose trade, if you ask me. The Twins didn't really get much in terms of impactful players, and the Dodgers, they still have Brock Stewart for I think 3 more seasons, because he's still arbitration eligible, even though he's 33 years old. So we'll see what happens there. But you don't get him, but you gain Roki Sasaki back, so that's good. The other two that's kind of concerning, kind of not. I'm going back and forth. I'm putting some hopium in the room right now and believe in Dave Roberts' words, and that's with Tommy Edman and Max Muncy. Max Muncy dealing with a lower body injury, I believe his leg. He's been getting banged up all season, especially since he's been activated off the injured list most recently. Got hit on the hand, got hit in the head, and then got hit in the leg as well. So Dodgers are kind of playing cautious with him. He didn't play the final 4 games of the season. I assume they just want him to get ready, get healthy, rest, get your little, at-bats in the cage here and there, be ready for Tuesday. Tommy Edman, that ankle, man, it's kind of just been egging at him all year. It sounds like one of those injuries where I don't want to say maybe after this season he may go under the knife and get it fixed during the offseason, miss the start of next season just to get it out of the way, because that's been something that he's been dealing with for almost 2 years now, especially the entire time he's been in Los Angeles. It delayed his minor league rehab stint when he was traded there, and it was an issue pretty much all season this year. And it seemed to be a thing with the playing on the turf, which I've played on turf in high school. It's not fun. It kind of hurts your knees, it hurts your feet, it hurts your ankles. So you're Tommy Edman going out there in center field. He made a lot of good catches out there. So they just want to rest him, and hopefully he's ready, but he'll be playing on natural grass again at Dodger Stadium, hopefully in center field. It's kind of interesting. If he doesn't get surgery, I'm curious to what they do in the offseason, if they want to keep him at second base and just on the infield dirt for the rest of his contract, and then if they go after some more outfield help. But that's what we got right now. Other than that, Will Smith, it doesn't look like he's playing for the wild card, but I kind of knew that was going to be the case just because of what a minor hairline fracture will do to your throwing hand. I mean, he just now started swinging a bat and he was only hitting foam balls. So clearly he's still feeling some discomfort there on the impact of hitting a baseball. Hopefully he's there for the NLDS if they move on, but I'm more than confident even without Will Smith, they'll be able to move on to the second round.
Yeah, well, there's got to be a second round. I mean, I think that all will be forgotten if we can just get to the NLDS and all the stuff that we were not able to do to earn that bye. But I actually want them to keep the momentum. I was a little bit worried in past years, and even this year, if it had happened that, when they have too many days off, that it could kind of make them go a little lackluster when they try to get and ramp it back up. So I think they're a little bit hot right now, and I want them to keep that momentum going. So hopefully this is actually a really good thing. But yeah, definitely want to get into kind of who we see at the positions, kind of what we can look for as far as who's going to be the starting catcher, what all of that is. But before we do that, there was so many good moments of the season. Spectrum broadcast today ran down just some really great highlights, and it kind of just made me think, what was your wow moment of 2025 season? Because I was writing down some of mine. It was hard to narrow it down, but can you guys think of something? It's like when I think back to the 2025 season, none of the bad stuff. What is the stuff that's like, this is the time that I'm going to be like, yeah, this was a great season. This is what I'm going to remember as the positive. Anthony.
I mentioned it before. I guess going to the Unk-Off, that's kind of like the highlight of the season for me, just because I was at the game. And it was 2 old guys, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, a lot of beignet in that room. Between the two of them, a lot of icy hot. But I think that's just the highlight because I was at the game. And I always remember the games that I'm at more than the games that I watch here at home, just by that. And more than likely, probably up in San Francisco away too. That was the first time I got to see Shohei kind of take the bump. And if I remember correctly, I think he went 3 innings. Yeah, that's when they were capping him off at 3 innings. And he went 3 innings and he looked dominant. I was like, whoa, that's the first time I had ever seen Shohei pitch, because I never saw him pitch. Yeah. Obviously on TV, but never in person. I never went to Anaheim to go watch him play over there. So that's kind of what stands out to me. It's those 2 starts or 2 games specifically will be the ones that stand out for me.
Definitely. Cody, what's your moment of the year?
Yeah, I got a couple off the top of my head. I really loved the way the team started off the beginning of the season. The Mookie Betts walk-off home run, kind of after everything he dealt with, that was kind of me saying, yeah, this is how this season's going to go. Clearly, a little too much hype there because, they go off to an 8-0 start. Things get a little shaky throughout the rest of the summer, but they ended up evening it out and making the postseason, winning the West, all that. Probably Kershaw getting 3,000. I mean, there was the one game I was really hyped to watch during the regular season, stayed up for the entire thing, and then kind of the anticipation of like, oh, he's only got like 3 strikeouts today against the team that struck out the most in baseball. So clearly he's thinking about it. To get it on the final out of his outing, kind of put the cherry on top with everything of his career. I would have said the Yamamoto no-hitter, but then we all remember what happened after that. But I think that game is just memorable in my brain just because when I think of the Dodgers season in a nutshell, for especially in the second half, it's been the bullpen. And that game just is just stuck in the back of my head on loop where it's like, damn, they could have done that. I think this was the first year since 2005 that there wasn't a no-hitter in Major League Baseball. So Jackson Holiday and the Dodgers bullpen, you blew it. Didn't give us a signature moment this season.
I those were all on my list too. One of the things that stood out, might seem kind of simple, but it was kind of, I think, really fun to see the Dodgers just really up their heritage nights. And I think Anthony, you were at the game that was it the Lucha, the wrestling game.
Yeah,
I loved
but
it.
the only reason I remember that game is because Tanner Scott blew it in the ninth. We won on a walk-off, but that's like the only memory that's etched into my head now.
I didn't remember that part. I just remember like just kind of goes hand in hand with the 4 million mark, because I was lucky enough to be able to go to a lot of games this year and just really feeling the energy of the stadium, really just feeling like how even Ellen referenced it today, how great the fans are and how much they have, really shown out for her husband. And they just, like you say, they show out every game, every night. Could be a Tuesday night in June and you have, just full stadiums really supporting the Dodgers. And I think the Dodgers really feel that. But I think the definite highlight was just in the last month, the first time I got to see Shohei pitch. If I had to really just say, when I was just dumbfounded, just awestruck. And one of my uncles has some really great season seats and field level. So I was sitting there for that. It was the 5-inning no-hitter that game. So I was just kind of like, oh my God, we have this for 8 more years. That just is, and watching Shohei pitch, as great of a hitter as he is, and he got his 55th home run today. Watching him pitch is like just phenomenal. And if anyone can get to see it live at any point, even if you're not a Dodger fan, watch this man. He is just extraordinary to see the talent. So just the fact that he's ours and we're watching this unicorn day in and day out is just fantastic. And so the pitcher and the hitter Shohei this year is just a supreme highlight. So that was mine. But now I think we need to get into what it's going to look like coming up in the next week. So a little playoff preview, if you will. I want to know who you think is going to make the roster. Do we think Kim's going to get on? Who's going to play the positions? Kind of what's your overall take for the next week? So, Cody, I'll start with you. Who's making this roster?
Yeah, I think a lot of the names we know are going to be on there. Obviously, the veterans, the guys that have been on the team for years now. Even Michael Conforto, who's been a little bit hot as of the month of September. He is going to be on the postseason roster, and I don't think that's something we thought of about a month ago. Everyone was clamoring for him to get released. I think the biggest one is the positional battle probably between Alex Call and Hae-Sung Kim. Both of those guys have seen very minimal playing time, and even in my roster prediction, I ended up siding with Call just because it seems like the Dodgers favor him getting more at-bats than Kim. And every time Dave Roberts talks about Kim, I kind of feel bad because it just seems like he's bashing him in one way or another, whether it's they don't like his swing against the lefties, they don't think he can catch up to velocity. Well, I thought he caught up to velocity today. He hit a 2-run bomb off of a 96-mile-per-hour painted fastball in the inside corner. Mm-hmm. Kim is a guy where I really like his entire play set. He is fast. He plays elite defense. He's a really good pinch runner if you need it. And, sometimes that bat does play. He grew up a Dodgers fan. He grew up to, help this team win a World Series. That's probably something that, you as a kid like me would only dream of. So I'm curious to see if they give him a shot to make the roster for those reasons. If not, I think they go with Call just because he can play both corner outfield positions. He can play center field if need be. He's also a decently fast runner to be pinch hit for. And he doesn't strike out and he walks a good bit as well. So I think the one thing that holds Kim back is his strikeout rate, especially in the second half. I attribute that to his shoulder being injured. Not a lot of other people do, but we'll see what happens. But we already got the one confirmation that Kershaw's not going to be on the wild card roster at least, so I assume Will Klein will probably get recalled and you insert him there. Other than that, the rest of the rotation and the bullpen is probably going to look the same. And then we know who the starters are going to be. I do think Kike Hernandez should start in left field every game, regardless of the splits. He looks fantastic. I know, Drea, you brought it up earlier. He looks locked in. Even his outs today, 10 pitch at bat, and he strikes out at the end, but he was kind of on those pitches. He had the go-ahead hit the other night. He had the home run in the first game of the series. So that's a guy the Dodgers brought in, as we said, to play for October. And if he's hot, he's hot. You got to play him. So I would much rather see Kike in the lineup every day more often than, Michael Conforto or Alex Call. Looking at the Reds and how the starting rotations they got, it's one righty, two lefty. So I figure we're going to see Kike Hernandez more times than not, and it's his time to shine.
It is. Anthony, take me through your infield and your outfield for these games this week. What does it look like?
Realistically, it stays the same. My outfield, I wouldn't touch it apart from left field, where I agree with Cody. Kike has to start. He's my starter just because it's that time of year. And then realistically, my bench is, or not my bench, my catcher is Benny Rowe. Benny Rowe's going to start for me. Although I do like what I saw from rushing this past 3 games. It looks like the bat's coming to life, but I kind of like Benny Rowe starting a catcher. Third base, if Muncie's healthy, he's my third baseman. Shortstop, I actually put Tommy Edman, and I'm moving Mookie out to our right field. No, I'm just playing. I'm keeping Mookie there at shortstop. Second base is kind of the interesting one. Tommy Edman, more than comfortable having him there. And then first base, of course, Freddie Freeman. And then my outfield is obviously Tail and Andy Paz is out there patrolling. And then you guys got guys on the bench like Michael Conforto. I think I do give the nod to Alex Call just because he's another outfielder. Just for this 2-3 game set here, going into the Phillies series, if we do advance, then I kind of reconsider things like, okay, maybe do I need Kim's speed here, or do I need another defensive outfield option? So at least just for these 3 games, I kind of lean towards Alex Call. And let's not forget, and then Miguel Rojas. There you go. There's the last. There you go, Miguel Rojas. He'd be my wild card roster as well too.
I mean, the bottom of the order looked really good this series, and so people wanted to hate on them all year, but if they play like they were playing this weekend, making some of these incredible plays, I'm not going to be mad at that at all. It's looking like, because if we do make it to the Philly series, Trey Turner is going to get the batting title. Freddie Freeman just fell a little bit short, but they have a weapon in Buehler, and we all know how Buehler is with October. And he looked really good in his last outings with the Phillies. Are they going to be the juggernaut if we make it that far?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Phillies are the team to beat. They kind of played more consistently than the Dodgers all season. They have the best record, I believe, since the trade deadline. They're the team I circled first. And if the Dodgers want to get past the Reds and go to try to repeat as World Series champions, that's the team they're going to play. And what better time to knock off a juggernaut than in a 5-game NLDS? But the Dodgers still have their work to do in just a 3-game series. Anything can happen in that wild card series, and that's the one scary thing about it. But Walker Buehler, I was asking a lot of Phillies fans around here. I said, man, Walker Buehler's been really good. Do you kind of start him like game 2 or game 3? Because, Ranger Suarez hasn't looked really good. Christopher Sanchez looked dominant today. He's obviously going to start their first game, but they have 3 lefties. I don't think they want to give a team the same left-handed look 3 games in a row. So do you bridge to Buehler? We don't know. I assume he will bring his A game against the Dodgers if that is the matchup, but I think they are the team to beat in the National League.
I think that they're beatable because even though we didn't seem to play well against them in that, marquee matchup series that we just had recently, if you really look closely at it, we could have easily won those games. It was really towards the end. They really weren't able to hit our starters, and the bullpen was the problem in those games and the late innings. But now that the Dodgers kind of are restructuring, if you will, I really think that we can go toe-to-toe with them. And if we play well, like we've been playing, I think that could be a positive. But yeah, we'll have to get through the wild card series, and that could be Tuesday and Wednesday is what they're scheduled for this week. So we could know as soon as Wednesday if we're going to be moving on till to go to the NLDS next weekend. It would not be home though, unlike the last series when we played the NLDS and the Padres. It would be at Citizens Bank, which is tough. So But the Dodgers, they just have to lock it in, give one of their Max Muncy pep talks like they had last year when he said, okay, we're going to forget our wives and girlfriends and families for 3 weeks. We're going to just do this. And they got into that mindset. And it's looking like they're already kind of locking in a little bit to that mindset this year. So hopefully that happens. But yeah, let's kind of just look a little bit into the Red Series more specifically. So, Cody, you said that they're going to go with Green and Lodolo. Is that what they're looking at in the first round?
It's definitely confirmed Hunter Green's going to go the first game. He was even hovering around the bullpen today in case if he was needed, but he is in line. I think Francona already confirmed that he'll basically start game 1. Game 2's a little bit of a conundrum. They could go with Lodolo, who pitched from the bullpen today. So that gives him a couple days, in between starting, from appearing today on Sunday and then going in on Wednesday, which would be that game 2. They also have another lefty in Andrew Abbott, who I imagine will probably get the ball as the starting pitcher in game 2 with Lodolo in relief. Good left-handed starters, good right-handed starter in Hunter Green. The Dodgers did have the Reds' numbers this year. They went 5-1 against them. They took care of business at Dodger Stadium a couple weeks back with Lodolo and Hunter Green both pitching that series and taking the L in the Reds series sweep. But the Reds, they're a young team. They're hungry. They are one of those teams that play similar baseball to like the Diamondbacks, where they play really good defense. They like to get on base, and they are very fast and athletic. Look no further than L.A. De La Cruz, who is definitely going to be an impact player this series. But the interesting stats I'm looking at is, they're just an 83-win team, and I think you have to take that into consideration with this new wild card, how it's configured. You're going to get some teams that are making the postseason that probably shouldn't be making it. They didn't have a single qualify hitter bat over 270, no batter hit over 25 home runs, no pitcher won 15 games, and no pitcher got 200 strikeouts. They did rank number 3 in terms of pitching F4 this season, and their starting rotation ranks 2nd. So they know how to pitch the ball. Hunter Green, before he got injured this year, he was on track to probably challenge Paul Skeens for the Cy Young Award. So that'll be the biggest challenge for the Dodgers. And I brought it up last episode as well, and I'll definitely touch on it again in my series preview. Winners of game 1 of this series, the wild card, going to win every single time. There has not been a single series in the new format since 2022 where the game 1 loser came back and won the next 2 games. There's only been, I think, 3 series of the 12 to go the full 3 games. And each time the home team, I think once the home team won, the rest of it's been the road team. So game 1's extremely important. The Dodgers more than likely going with Blake Snell. He's looked really good in the postseason, I mentioned earlier. Gives them a really good chance. They haven't officially announced who they will go with game 2. I know Bob Nightingale put out a tweet saying it'll be Yamamoto, just because Dave Roberts kind of said Yamamoto's name out when they were asked about the starting rotation. I think if they win game 1, they will go with Ohtani in game 2 just to close out the series so they can save Yamamoto for the NLDS. That just seems the most logical thing for me. They could just go with Yamamoto and end the series and go with Ohtani in Citizens Bank Park if they move on. But I just look at the home road splits. Yamamoto's been a lead on the road, ERA almost under 2. Ohtani's ERA doubles on the road. It's at like 3.4 compared to like a 1-something at home. So we'll see what happens there. But they got to win game 1. They got to set the tone early. And if they win game 1, I'm going to feel very confident that they'll probably win this series. But Hunter Green's going to be a tough task. I know they got his number twice, but we'll see what happens.
Good. No, he's scary. But I think one thing about the Reds is that they haven't hit left-handed pitching really well. So it makes sense that they would go with Snell first off. But yeah, it's going to be a fun week. It's going to come fast. Anthony, what are you excited for as we get close up the show? What are you excited for to see this week?
Playoff baseball. It's the best time of year. I've reiterated so many times, especially if you've never been to an actual playoff game. It's such a different atmosphere compared to the regular season. Like, emotions are higher. Every strike literally counts, stuff like that. So if you do have the opportunity to go to one anytime soon, I definitely recommend it. It's definitely most stressful. But yeah, I'm kind of excited for Blake Snell to take the ball and kind of just lead us. He's going to be the top dog for this series at least, because he has the ball game 1. But I kind of want us to kind of go out there and kind of attack early on offense as well too. The more we score early, I think the more we put the fear into Cincinnati's hearts and kind of just take them out of the game completely. And it's very important to go out there and win game one. I want us to go out there, win game one, so the pressure is no longer on us, it's back on them, and then we'll just go from there.
Yep. Game 1 and game 2, 6:08 ESPN. So we got the primetime slot, and I think that's no mistake that they wanted to put the Dodgers there because there's going to be all eyes on us this week at Dodger Stadium. Hopefully, I'll get to jump in the DS if we make it that far, because I definitely want to check out some games and playoff baseball, like you say, Anthony. There really is nothing like it. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. Cody, where can everyone find your articles this week?
Yeah, we're going to be churning out a lot of content either, tonight. I know Steve Webb's been getting out all the post-game, pre-game interviews pumped out on DodgersBeat.com. I'll have all the playoff breakdowns. I know Steve got another thing going on of who's hot and who's not. I'll have the Reds preview. On the website, we do series previews. We also do game day previews of, pitching probables, who's hot, who's not, favorites in terms of betting, all that stuff to give you an idea of what to expect that single game. And then obviously all the news and stuff that happens afterwards. We're probably going to get a good chunk of stuff coming tomorrow. I believe the team's working out at Dodger Stadium. We'll probably get an update on Will Smith, Max Muncy, Tommy Edmonds. So we'll definitely have that all on the website as well. And then I assume that Dodgers manager Dave Roberts will probably announce the full starting rotation for games 1 and 2. They may hold it close to the chest until after game 1 concludes. Like I said, if they change their mind with some things, but yeah, DodgersBeat.com, obviously my Substack, and then obviously on Twitter, that's where I'm the most active. I'll have a lot of breakdowns for the Reds. Got a lot of numbers on my computer right now, so that's where to follow me.
So exciting. So absolutely, definitely follow us on our handles. You can find me, Drea, at Instagram and X at Ravine Queen 1958. Check out Anthony on his X and Instagram at Anthony Acosta _ and check out Cody, like he said, on X at Snavely Cody 6. Don't forget to check out DodgersBeat.com all week. We'll be here to talk with you. Make sure that we keep you all up to date on the YouTube channel. And with that, playoff boys, let's go Dodgers.